Hey guys, and welcome to another GameXplain discussion. I'm your host, Andre Seegers, and this time we're joined by Derek Bittner and Ash Paulson to discuss even more of Nintendo's 2015 year in review, this time touching on DLC, amiibo, and indie games. So let's hop right back in from where we left off last time. We did see a shift. Well, I mean, amiibo were introduced last year, so I didn't have much time to use them. But this year, we definitely got a good idea, or a better idea of what Nintendo's planning with them. And that's the fact they basically anchored several major releases to amiibo, including Mario Party 10, especially Amiibo Festival, and then we also had Chibi Robo, which came with an amiibo. And it seems like they're almost using amiibo now to sell games. Like, it's no longer like it's like you're buying a toy and you get a free game with it.
Yeah, I mean, they're even doing that with Twilight Princess HD next year. It comes
that's
with the
right.
Wolf Link amiibo. Yeah.
Yeah. It's funny how they're doing that, because at the beginning of the year, before doing all these pack-ins, they were trying to do the opposite. And one of the games I saw when I was making up this list of all the Nintendo games that had been released this year was that Amiibo Tap, Nintendo's Greatest Bits, where you would scan the amiibo and you could play small sections of classic Nintendo games that were on the Virtual Console to try out. Obviously not a real game, more of a demo system, but that was them trying to use the amiibo to sell games in bits and whatnot, and they realized, that doesn't work. Let's just package the games in, because I don't think anybody remembered that game.
Yeah, it doesn't seem like it.
Not so much.
No.
Yeah. But the sad thing is, we need a game that uses the amiibo in a real way. We've talked about this before, and right now it just serves as a fun toy or collectible that you get with a game.
Yeah, I mean, we did discuss this before, but I think you nailed it there. I mean, the concern is the amiibo bubble going to pop? And I feel like if Nintendo doesn't start making better use of them, it will. And I'm hoping 2016 is going to be the time when they take advantage of that. I guess, but one of the questions I have then is, though, do you think they'll start to do you think they'll try and start rectifying that or taking better advantage of amiibo with the Wii U and 3DS? Or will they hold out on the NX? Because almost like a killer amiibo app might almost be better to hold off for the next platform. But the concern is you don't want that bubble to pop before then. Not that it necessarily would, but it could.
I don't think the bubble can last that long. I think they have to do something with the Wii U or 3DS with the amiibo and try to kind of reintroduce them in terms of how they're used in gameplay. Mm-hmm. Because I don't think the bubble will last until the NX. Now, not that we know when the NX is coming exactly, right. But I feel like with all the shipment shortages and people having trouble getting the characters they want, people are already annoyed with the whole amiibo thing. So I think they kind of need to act on that sooner rather than later.
There feels like there's less amiibo releases on the horizon. We got Wolf Link, we've gotten the second wave of Animal Crossing amiibo, and of course all the DLC characters from Smash Brothers. But beyond that, I mean, I'm not seeing them take advantage of their other series at all, like they did that whole separate Mario series.
Just give them time.
Yeah, I mean, And I think they really need to do that, because that will help the bubble not burst, because it's characters that maybe that don't get figures that often, or stuff that's a little bit more special. There is ways they can make this last, but they definitely need to find some way to make them more than just collectibles.
Yeah, I mean, they haven't mentioned the Star Fox line yet, but I would be surprised if that doesn't happen. Although you did touch on the Mario series there, and I don't think, did they even finish out that series? Like, I thought they announced more and they never came out, right?
Well, they had those, like, in Mario Party 10, they had in their amiibo mode, they had like special figures that you presume would be for Rosalina, Wario, maybe Spike or whatever, and those never came out.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
it's like the interest wasn't there, so it was like, screw it.
Yeah, I mean, I think I touched on this before, but I wonder if part of it is the fact that, I mean, they kind of blew their major amiibo load with Smash Brothers, where literally every one of their major characters now has an amiibo, basically. So at this point, you're stuck with either the B tier characters or the spin-off type characters. Like you say Paper Mario, right? You can release a Paper Mario line of characters. I'm sure that would do well, but I mean, there's only so many times you can do that, right?
Right.
How many times can you re-release the same characters? And I think that's the problem they ran into with Mario. People already had a Mario, arguably a Mario that looked even cooler than the one from the official Mario line. So who really wants more? I mean, I think part of the problem too with the Mario line is those just felt like especially generic to me. I don't know.
Yeah.
So
and they felt just kind of redundant. I mean, all those characters already existed as part of the Smash Brothers line.
Yeah, that's it exactly.
The only new one you got was Toad.
That's true. So yeah, Toad, and he's the only one I ended up buying because he was new and Toad's awesome.
That's right.
But you bringing up Smash Brothers did remind me of my last point that I wanted to make about 2015, which was, despite the uneven year that Nintendo had in terms of actual, releases, in terms of what was great and what wasn't, I think they deserve a lot of credit for really knocking the ball out of the park with DLC. And we saw the start of that with Mario Kart 8 and how they really priced things fairly. And, Mario Kart 8 got 50% more tracks, and that made a lot of people happy. This year, we saw not only paid DLC with Smash, but also, free support and content updates throughout the year with Splatoon, which is really cool of them to do. I mean, you could make the argument that Splatoon felt incomplete when it came out. I personally don't buy that. I think it was perfectly complete. But they continue to support it, and they're going to keep supporting it throughout the turn of the year. And then we have Smash Brothers, which, I mean, that's just a gift that keeps on giving. I mean, Brawl came out right before DLC really hit its stride. So, in the dead space between Brawl and Smash Wii U, I think a lot of Smash fans, myself included, were just fantasizing about how awesome an expandable Smash Brothers roster could be in the next game. And Sakurai and his team have utterly and completely delivered with, new content for Smash throughout the year, and I think it's been awesome.
Nintendo has hit it out of the park with their management of DLC overall, I would say. Like, that was a huge concern people had. And we started getting tastes of it over the last year or two, like with Mario Kart you touched on. But with Smash Brothers, with a free Splatoon support, and even like we got some free Zelda support too in Triforce Heroes.
That's true.
Like, they are just hitting it out of the park with how they're handling this. I feel like, the fact that they've gone above and beyond what I ever expected for free DLC, like, they're really, like, kind of setting the bar, I think. Like, they're embarrassing some other companies in how they're handling, like, the free DLC support. And even Smash Brothers, which I think they charge completely reasonable prices for that DLC, that's already on top of a fully complete experience that you already bought. Now, I've seen some people complain about how the Smash stuff should be free. I don't understand that at all.
No,
like, I will never understand that.
Don't get me wrong, it would be awesome if it were free. I would love that.
Sure.
With that said, that's a ridiculous expectation. You're already getting a fully complete experience with the original game. More content than we've ever had before from a core gameplay perspective in a Smash game. And now they're supporting that with fully fleshed out characters, with characters that people thought were impossible before. Straight up impossible.
Yeah.
And now you can buy for like $5. Like, I think they have done a fantastic job, and I have to commend them for it, because I was concerned with how Nintendo would handle it. Nintendo has bungled so many aspects when it comes to online, but the fact that they're kind of like nailing it now, they're figuring things out, they're kind of nailing it, and I feel like, once, and I'm hoping that they take a similar tack now with Amiibo, like kind of tying it back into that, like once they get past
the growing pains.
Yeah, the growing pains. Yeah, once you work out the growing pains of Amiibo, where it gives you meaningful content without it feeling like a ripoff. So,
yeah. I'm really trying to think of any piece of Nintendo DLC that did not feel like that felt like a ripoff. Is what I should be saying. The only thing I can think of that might take that opinion, because I think even Mario Golf on 3DS did really well with the DLC that they did. The only DLC they ever introduced that I found kind of uninteresting was the stuff they did for New Super Mario Bros. 2, but that really did feel like testing the waters of what people wanted.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And like once Mario Golf came out, Mario Kart came out, they just nailed the pricing when they came out, just continued to support. I'm actually still surprised they didn't decide to continue on with Mario Kart 8's DLC.
I am too, actually.
Yeah.
It just seems like it would be a brilliant idea with what, especially with 2015 being a little light on content and keeping people playing Mario Kart. But
that actually brings up another good point, is the fact that even, again, looking at this release list, they had a ton of releases here, but not a lot of big memorable ones. But I feel like having the string of DLC, such as they've done with Splatoon and now even kind of with Mario Maker, like it continues, and even Smash Brothers, like it makes these games relevant for an even longer period of time. Like you keep seeing Smash Brothers, Mario Kart, Smash Brothers, Mario Maker, and Splatoon in the headlines.
Yeah. It's done it so well, and I don't think anybody expected, like most multiplayer games I play for maybe a month and then I'm good with them. I have never played a multiplayer game as long as I have with Splatoon.
Yeah. So we pretty much covered Nintendo's main first-party games, but something else we can touch on is Nintendo's embracing of the indie community, which is something we've seen quite a bit of. I mean, especially with Nintendo like hosting indie-focused events now, like at PAX. So what did you guys think of that this year?
I think Nintendo had a fantastic indie year for just throughout the year. They had plenty of high-profile indie releases, and unfortunately there's a wide swath of players out there who don't consider indie games real games and completely ignore them. Which, what can you say to those people other than they're missing out? But we had games like Life of Pixel and Fast Racing Neo, which just came out, and Freedom Planet. I mean, really, really great games that don't quite fit the big budget model, but are fantastic releases on the Wii U all the same, and fantastic enough that I would consider them must-plays. Like, these are not games that you would want to skip if you were a Wii U owner.
Yeah, there's some really great indie titles out there, and they've actually gone out of their way to get some of the bigger indie titles. They went out of their way to make sure Binding of Isaac ended up on 3DS and Wii U. They went out of their way working with Microsoft to get Minecraft on Wii U. These are big gets. These are games that people obviously enjoy, and to make that extra effort to get these games on there, as well as getting some their own sort of unique indie games on there, like Fast Racing Neo, or the fact that they were one of the first consoles that Shovel Knight appeared on, just keeps going to show. And actually, speaking of Shovel Knight, the fact that Shovel Knight has an amiibo, that is huge. That is working with indies, and of course, other companies are working with the indies as well, but Nintendo really stepped up their game in trying to get these different companies to put their stuff on their system. And we got more to look forward to next year with like Kerbal Space Program and some other really big indie games.
Yeah, I mean the timing's really worked out given again how much uneventful some of their own releases seem this year. And I do wonder if, like, part of their embracing of the indie community is them realizing they kind of had to, because they really do need that support, particularly with the fact that major third parties aren't supporting Nintendo's platforms. So appealing to the indie community is one of the best things they can do, especially with how much attention some indie games are getting. Like, you almost wouldn't know that some of these games are coming from teams of, like, just 3 or 4 people. Look at Fast Racing Neo. I mean, that game looks like it came from, almost like a AAA developer at times.
Yeah, and it was made by like 5 people.
Yeah, that's crazy, right?
This is nuts. Yeah.
I will say, obviously this didn't appear on any of the consoles, and the developer of the game has said it would be very difficult to get on consoles. But if any of the major third parties or any of the major console developers would work with him to make it happen, whoever gets Undertale on their system is going to be huge.
That's for sure.
I've not played the game, but people love it, or at least love to hate it after the whole GameFAQs thing. But no matter what you think about it, it would be huge for any one of these consoles to manage to get Undertale on their system, and I think that's going to be a big priority in 2016 for all three. For Sony, Microsoft, and Nintendo, to try to get that on their system.
So do you guys have any final thoughts all about 2015? Any last minute things you want to get out there before we wrap it up?
I don't want to come across as too negative. I still think this was a pretty decent year for Nintendo. I think their biggest problem is, outside of Super Mario Maker and Splatoon and Smash Brothers, none of their games really stood in the public mind for that long. And I'm hoping Xenoblade Chronicles X, which is, again, a personal favorite of mine this year, obviously, will stay in the public conscious as well, if only because people are going to be playing that for quite a while. It's a decent year, not a great year, but a year that I think Nintendo could, definitely does have some standouts about, and you can be mostly positive with.
I would agree with that. I don't think it was a bad year. It was just a kind of a whatever year. It had some great releases. It had some not so great releases. And I do want to actually specifically mention Xenoblade Chronicles X, which we haven't touched on too much. But I do think that game actually is pretty important for the Wii U. I mean, it's been extremely well received by both critics as well as the fan base, I think. And I think moving forward, Nintendo is going to want or need more games like that. But I do think it is reaching a different demographic than Nintendo usually reaches. And I think getting more games of that nature would be a very good thing for them. And I do think that game kind of saved their end of the year a little bit. Instead of being a complete disappointment with just Mario Tennis and Amiibo Festival.
Oh yeah, if you only had to focus on those 2 games, it would have been a bust. But with Xenoblade Chronicles X coming out at the very end, it saves it, because now everybody can focus all that energy on there, and it really is that good of a game. And I'm very happy to see so many people paying attention to it, and it seems to be doing quite well in the sales charts as well. So it seems like a good partnership to have with Monolith Soft to give Nintendo those RPGs that they kind of lack. You know, they're not getting Fallout, they're not getting Skyrim or anything like that. At least we have Xenoblade. And
even though it may be a niche game, niches can be important, especially when you're dealing with a user base the size of the Wii U.
Yeah, I mean, I echo a lot of what you guys said. I mean, I think a lot of what we said could be construed as overwhelmingly negative, and there certainly were negative, elements to Nintendo's 2015, but there's a lot of positive too. And on the whole, I think we come out with a net gain, not a net loss. I mean, yeah, there are some kind of meh releases, but there was a lot of good stuff too. The Smash DLC was fantastic. Splatoon and Super Mario Maker are two of the most unique, innovative games on any console over the years. So, overall it was a net gain, but it definitely was not a, strong 2015 throughout.
I would agree with that. If you look at it in the broadest of terms, I guess, they're nailing DLC. Amiibo is doing extremely well for them, even though we may not be, totally happy with how they're handling it so far. It's a platform for them to build on. And then they have a brand new IP in the form of Splatoon, and then maybe a smaller one in the form of Mario Maker. So this year, I think they're setting up the foundation for moving forward into 2016. And that's what they needed to do. They're setting up things in place for which they can build their new platforms on, which is, hopefully it's all going to come together. And that's actually what we're going to discuss coming up very soon in our and what we think, is in store for Nintendo's 2016 year. So make sure to stay tuned for that. Otherwise, thanks for watching, guys. Of course, keep an eye on GameXplain for more discussions from us and other things gaming as well. Alright, catch you guys later. Bye.